and he had told Lori that it did work. But then later on, we found out that Lori and Chad said that even though we had cast out that demon that was called Garrett, that another more powerful and more skillful demon had come in and taken his place instead.
And what was that spirit or demon's name?
I believe they called him Ned.
Okay. And so you learned that after the first casting on about Charles.
Correct.
Okay. So what did she tell you about a spirit named Ned?
That he was more skilled, and that he was more powerful than the one before, and that we needed to do another casting.
Okay. And then was that next casting on Charles to get rid of Ned? Where was that?
At my house.
Okay. Who was there for the casting on Charles this time?
This time was still Nicole and Serena, Melanie Gibb,
Okay.
Alex was there also. He had been invited. At first, they had, Lori and Chad had said that Alex was a first creation or first time on the earth, which would mean that they were less spiritually experienced or savvy, and that we couldn't talk much about certain things in front of him because he wouldn't understand it or he wouldn't know them. But by this meeting, they had changed their rating on him, and by this time they said that Alex had been in prior creations and that he had been exalted in other creations. So he had already been proven, and that this was his first time on this earth, but he had been in other earths multiple times.
And so in that sort of status, did that now make him a powerful spiritual being?
Correct.
Okay. Did Alex believe that?
Most
Objection calls for speculation.
If you know.
Yeah, with that just question, I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you know whether Alex expressed that he believed this?
Yes, he spoke about how he was very excited to find out who he was.
Okay. And so now that Alex is the strong spiritual being, did he participate in the casting involving Charles and the entity they labeled Ned?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that casting.
Again, everyone had different parts to do.
What was Alex's part? If you remember.
I believe that Alex was the warrior in that casting, so he would have done something. I don't exactly remember what it was.
Okay. But who assigned the roles in this casting on Charles of that night at your home?
Lori.
Okay. Were you given information by Lori that the casting to remove Ned worked or not?
Again, she got on the phone with Chad and asked if he had worked. She was very confident that this time was going to work because she had told us that we had to fast. She said that in the scriptures when the apostles could not cast out a demon or evil spirit, that in the scriptures they said that Jesus had told them that there are certain spirits that can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. So she had told us to fast, so we all fasted, and she told us that we couldn't eat until after we had done the casting. And so she was confident that it was going to work because of the pre-work that we had done. She told us again that it had worked.
And was Alex there when she told you it worked?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, if somebody is possessed by a demon, are those people dangerous?
They're considered to be dark and to bring only bad things to happen. Yeah. So yes, would be dangerous.
And if you know, did Alex believe this?
Alex believed it more than anybody else there.
Did you have any follow-up conversations on whether or not the spirit Ned was successfully removed from Charles Vallow?
So then Lori said that Ned had been removed, but this time there was even a more powerful demon that had come and possessed Charles or Charles's body, and that this time it was someone who had been who had done the same thing for hundreds of years and was very like an expert at doing that.
Do you remember the name? Was the name Hippos or
Hippos, I think it was.
Okay. So was there another casting for Charles to remove Hippos?
Yes. At this time, Lori had moved to Texas, so she had moved back with Charles, and she asked us to be on conference calls early in the morning, and again we would do casting on Charles to cast out Hippos.
Okay. Who participated on the calls on the casting on Hippos or Charles?
It was Christina, Nicole, Melanie Gibb, Melanie Boudreau, Lori, and I.
Okay. Was Alex on these calls?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. And did you try another casting on Charles?
There were several castings that we did on Charles during that time.
Okay. And did Alex participate in in any of these castings other than ones? Let me ask you a better question. Did Alex participate in the castings involving the spirit Hippos in Charles?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. And did you learn at any point whether the casting to remove Hippos worked?
No, Lori said that this one was a very powerful demon, and that the reason why Charles had moved to Texas was because there were doctors there that helped these kind of people who possess other people's bodies to stay alive, and helps them to keep the body alive and going.
Did you, to your knowledge, was Alex aware of this issue with Charles being possessed by an exceptionally strong spirit?
Yes, he knew.
Okay. Did Lori say why she was stayed with Charles when he was possessed with a bad spirit?
She said she had, I asked her why she would move back to Texas with him after all the problems they had, and she said that she needed to be with Charles in Texas for a little while to get her finances straight.
And to your knowledge, was Alex aware that Lori needed to get her finances straight?
I don't know.
Okay. And during this effort to cast out Hippos and deal with Charles, did there come a time that Charles passed away?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when that was?
It was July 11th of 2019.
Okay. I got to ask, how do you remember that date?
Lori always said that she had a connection with the 7-Eleven, the number 7-Eleven. She would mention that number all the time as if it was some kind of so she had some kind of a spiritual connection with the number 7-Eleven. And when she told me what had happened, she said that it was 7-Eleven, therefore it had been all orchestrated by God, and she felt that because it was 7-Eleven and it was her numbers, that Charles or Hippos had been delivered to them, to him, to her and Alex.
Okay. So when you say she told you about what happened, are you saying she told you about what she said happened to Charles Vallow?
Correct.
What did she say happened to Charles Vallow on July 11th?
She said that Charles had rented a house in Gilbert. I think it's Chandler, but it was a house for her and the kids. They had moved into this house, and he had come from out of town to pick up JJ that morning to take him to school, I believe. And while he was putting JJ in the car, Lori took his phone, and he came back to get the phone, and she didn't want to give him the phone, so they started arguing about the phone, and Alex was there, and he got involved in the fight, and they started fighting. Alex said that he was trying to protect his sister, and then Tylee came into the middle of this fight with a baseball bat and telling Charles to leave, and that Charles had taken the bat away from Tylee, and Charles had hit Alex on the back of the head with the bat, and Charles and Alex wrestled around fighting, and at one point Alex got his gun and he shot Charles, and that's how he died.
So did she say what happened after that?
She said they had called the police, and the police had interrogated them, and they had deemed it to be in self-defense.
Did you talk to her after this, after she told you about what had happened to Charles, what she said had happened to Charles? Did she talk to you again about what was going to happen next?
Lori said that there were certain things that needed to happen before the second coming could happen, and there were certain things that she was instructed that she needed to do in order to usher the second coming, and one of them was that she needed to cleanse the earth from evil spirits. So every time that something would happen will be something like another step ushering the second coming.
So was Charles's death, what she told you, part of the steps towards the second coming?
Yes.
Okay. And if you know, did Alex believe this?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, did at some point you have a conversation with her about her staying in Arizona or her moving?
She had said that she wanted to be in Arizona, but then Chad Daybell told her that she needed to move to Rexburg, and so she packed up her house and moved to Rexburg.
What was significant about Rexburg, Idaho?
Chad had said that Rexburg, Idaho, was going to be a place of refuge where there was going to be invasions of other countries coming into the United States, and that Rexburg was going to be a place where there would be soldiers and warriors that would be defending that area, and that area had been prepared by the church to accommodate people to come towards that area to be as a place of safety.
Okay. And so did Lori move to Rexburg?
Yes.
Ms. Smith, we're getting right to the lunch break. If there's a logical breaking point in your questions that you think would work in the next few minutes.
This is actually one of them. We're moving to Rexburg right now. So.
Okay, let's go ahead and take our lunch recess then. We'll keep trying to shoot for this under an hour lunch with our schedules, so try to reconvene around 12:45 if possible.
All right, please. All right, please. Off President Council, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, we'll go back on the record on case CR 2221-1624, State versus Lori Vallow. We just concluded the lunch break. The state's still continuing its case in chief, and you've got a witness, Ms. Pastenes, that's in direct examination. Is the state ready to proceed with continued direct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is the defense ready to proceed as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll go ahead and have the witness return to the witness stand. All right, I'll just remind you, Ms. Pastenes, you are still under oath for your testimony today. And with that, Ms. Smith, you can continue your examination.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Now, I think we were talking about the time in the summer of 2019 after Charles Vallow died, that Lori Vallow moved to Rexburg.
Correct.
Okay. How did you learn that Lori Vallow was going to move to Rexburg?
She told me that she was moving.
Okay. And I believe you've told us that she told you why. Do you remember talking about why she moved to Rexburg?
She said that that part of her mission was for her to be there.
Okay. And so who moved to Rexburg with Lori Vallow?
Alex.
Okay. Where were Lori Vallow's children?
With her.
Okay. And Alex, did Alex and Lori end up living in the same apartment complex?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have do you know how Ms. Vallow was going to pay for things in Rexburg? How she was going to finance things?
When I asked her how she was going to finance, how she was going to live, since she didn't have a job, she told me that she was receiving Social Security from Tylee, from her dad passing away before the age of 18. JJ was receiving Social Security from his dad dying, and since she had been married for over 10 years to Charles, then she will also receive Social Security, and she said that it was something close to $6,000 a month, and she didn't need to work.
And so did she in fact move, and did Alex move to Rexburg?
Yes.
Did you go visit them in September of 2019?
I did.
Okay. Where did you go stay?
I stayed in Alex's apartment.
Okay. And was Alex living with Lori, or was Alex living on his own?
Alex had his own apartment.
Okay. So you stayed at Alex's apartment. Where did Lori stay?
Lori was in her apartment.
Okay. When you visited, did you see Tylee at all?
No.
Did you ask where Tylee was?
Yes.
And what did Lori tell you about where Tylee was?
She said she had to be free.
When she said who is she?
Tylee.
Okay. And who said this to you? Was that what Lori said, that Tylee had to be free?
Correct.
Okay. Did she say where she was staying, where Tylee was actually staying?
When I tried to ask her what she meant by that, she lifted her hand and put it up to my face and said, "Don't ask."
Now, when you were there, after she talked, did you ask about JJ as well after she talked about Tylee like that?
JJ was there.
Okay. What was JJ doing?
He was playing outside with his neighbor friends.
All right. And did Lori say anything about how JJ was handling being in Rexburg?
She said that he had some toiletry issues since they had moved.
Okay. Did she say anything about JJ being attacked by demons?
She said that she started saying that before they moved to Rexburg.
Okay. So she had told you prior to the move to Rexburg that JJ too was being attacked by demons.
Correct.
Okay. What did she say about whether Tylee was being attacked by demons or evil spirits?
Right before she moved to Rexburg, she said that Tylee had been possessed by evil spirit or a demon, and she called it Hillary.
Okay. Do you remember how many times she talked about Tylee being possessed by the spirit Hillary or the demon Hillary?
About 2-3 times.
Okay, more than once.
Correct.
Okay. What about JJ, but him being attacked by demons? Did she say this once or more than once?
More than once.
Okay. How many times?
It was a few times.
Okay. Do you know whether JJ ever had a comfort dog or a service dog?
Yes.
Okay, what was that service dog's name?
I believe it was Bailey or something like that.
Did she ever talk about any issues with Bailey?
Yes, she said that that they were evil spirits attacking JJ, and they were going into the dog Bailey because it was easier to possess the dog.
Okay. And so did she give away or get rid of Bailey?
Yes, she did.
Was that before moving to Rexburg?
Yes,
After Charles died?
correct.
And then did she, and then once they were in Rexburg, did she repeat any concerns about Tylee being possessed by Hillary, the demon Hillary or the spirit Hillary?
No, Tylee was not there when I went there.
Okay. Did she say anything about JJ being attacked by demons when you were in Rexburg visiting?
Not that I recall.
Okay. What was JJ doing when you saw him in Rexburg?
He was playing outside with his toys and with his friends from the neighbors, the neighborhood kids, and then he came inside and asked for a popsicle, and then he went back outside, and then he came back inside to ask for a snack, and then he went back outside, and then I guess it was around 7 o'clock, and Lori brought him inside and started getting him ready for bed.
Okay. And while you were there, was Melanie Gibb there?
No.
Okay. And did Lori say anything about how it was caring for JJ now that Charles was gone?
She said she had hired I don't know whether it was a babysitter or a nanny that was helping her take care of him when she needed, and she also said that she had bought subscription to one of those bounce places so that he could she could take him there to be entertained.
Okay. So did she, and then how did you see Chad at all while you were in Rexburg?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that. How did that happen? Let's start that way. How was it you were able to see Chad? Because at this time, Chad's wife, Tammy, was still alive, correct?
Correct.
And he was still living with Tammy,
Correct.
even though Lori's now in Rexburg, right?
Yes, he asked me to lie for him and to send a text to him saying that I was speaking at a conference or at a presentation, and that I wanted him to come and see me speak.
Okay. And did you send that text?
I did.
Why did he have you do that? And you said lie for him. Why did he ask you to do that?
So that he could he could have an excuse to his wife to come over.
To Lori's.
Correct, to come over to Lori's apartment.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Did Chad come over?
Yes.
Okay. Did you talk to Chad at all during this time?
We did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was Lori there as well?
Yes.
Tell us about that conversation with Lori and Chad.
Lori and Chad were very aggressively trying to convince me to move to Rexburg. And we talked a lot about him saying that I needed to move to Rexburg.
Why did they want you to move to Rexburg?
They kept telling me that part of my mission was to be there and that I needed to help them build Zion there and that I just needed to move there.
Okay. Now, do you have a job?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have family in Arizona?
Yes.
Okay. What did Lori say about, how you would, if you gave up and quit your job, how were you supposed to support yourself?
I said that if I was to move to Rexburg, there's no jobs there for me, for my experience or my past jobs or anything that would match me, and what would I do there for finances. And she said, don't worry about it. Melanie, meaning Melanie Pulaski / Boudreaux, she has enough for all of us.
Okay. Now, so at this time it was Melanie Boudreaux. That was her name, right?
At the time, correct, yes.
Okay. And so Melanie Boudreaux was her niece.
Yes,
And Melanie Boudreaux was in the process of divorcing her husband, Brandon.
correct,
And she received a fairly substantial divorce settlement,
correct,
several $100,000.
yes.
Okay. And so what did Lori tell you about Melanie supporting people? What exactly? I want to make sure we get the words right. What did she say?
She said, don't worry about it because Melly has enough for all of us.
Okay. What did you say to that?
I said, that's her money, not my money.
Okay. And did Lori have a response?
No,
Okay.
not really.
All right. Did you ever talk to Melanie Boudreaux about the idea that her money was going to support all of you?
I told her about what Lori said after Alex had died, and she said that she was very sad that other people would be saying that about her and her money.
So while you're there and they're trying to convince you to move, did Chad or Lori talk to you about anything else? Did Chad give you another blessing?
Yep, he did.
What was that blessing?
In this blessing, he said that the Savior was standing right next to him, and that he was giving him the words to say to me, and that the Savior was telling me that it was time to leave Babylon and to move to Rexburg. He also added that the Savior was telling me that all my sins were forgiven.
Now, who was here when you were getting that blessing?
Lori, Chad, Alex, and I.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding from what you say a blessing is from somebody in a priesthood or almost anybody can give you a blessing, but it's personal to you, right?
It has to be a priesthood holder if they are going to be using the priesthood power, and it is specifically for you.
Okay.
Yes.
So why was Alex there?
Alex also received a blessing that day.
Okay. In front of you?
Yes.
What was Alex's blessing from Lori and Chad?
In this blessing, Chad told him that the Savior was standing right next to him, and that he was giving him the words to tell him as well, and he told him that all his sins were forgiven.
What was Alex's reaction when Chad and Lori told him all his sins were forgiven?
He started sobbing.
During this blessing for you and then blessing for Alex, did the concept of marriage ever come up?
Chad had given me a blessing in August of 2019 in Lori's house, and at that time he had also told me that I was going to be moving to Rexburg and that I was going to be getting married.
Okay.
And in this blessing, he in Rexburg in September, he also referred to that.
Okay. So he'd given you a couple of blessings each time mentioning the idea that you're going to be getting married.
Correct.
Okay. And any of these times did he and Lori talk to you about who you should marry?
No.
Okay. did the subject eventually come up about who you should marry or who they would like you to marry?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Lori and Chad were teaching that a man and a woman should always be together because they're stronger as an entity than as two separate people. If they are together, then they can have the priesthood together and they can be stronger and be more effective in whatever it is that they are going to do. So she, once Alex and I started dating, then they started saying that we should be married.
Okay. Now, at the visit at Lori's house in Rexburg in September, when Tylee wasn't there, but JJ was, were you dating Alex at that point?
We had gone in one day before he moved to Rexburg. We went out to dinner, and on this trip that I went there, we just were getting to know each other, just talking a lot, and he was really funny, so we had a lot of fun watching movies and talking and just getting to know each other.
So after your trip in September, how long did you stay in September?
I believe it was only like 2 to 3 days or something like that. It was a very short trip.
Okay. Do you remember if JJ was going to school on those days, or do you think it was a weekend?
I believe it was part of the weekend and then part of the day.
Okay. And were Melanie Gibb or her boyfriend David Warwick there at all?
No.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you guys were getting to know each other. Did there come a point where your relationship with Alex actually became dating or kind of took off?
Yeah, Alex came to Arizona on October 31st. It was Halloween, and he came over. Lori had asked that Alex and Melanie Boudreau would stay in my house.
This is down in Arizona?
In Arizona, And when they came down, Alex and Melanie came over to my house, and I gave Melanie my bedroom, and Alex and I stayed up talking most of the night, and that was the first time that we held hands or the first time we kissed.
And was that Halloween?
Yes.
Okay. And so after Halloween of 2019, did there come a point where you actually got engaged?
Yes.
What day did you guys get engaged?
It was on my next trip to Rexburg in November.
November 7th?
Correct.
Okay. So you go back up to Rexburg November 7th, and when you're up in Rexburg, Alex gives you an engagement ring?
Yes.
And you agree to marry him?
Yes.
Okay. When you're back up in Rexburg November 7th of 2019, did you see JJ?
JJ was not there. Lori was not there. Chad was not there.
What about Tylee?
No.
Okay. Now, you guys got engaged. Do you know where Chad and Lori were at the time?
We didn't know where they were at. I didn't know where they were at. But later, while I was there during that trip, we received pictures of them getting married in Hawaii.
Okay. And was there any communication once you got the pictures of them getting married in Hawaii?
I believe so.
Okay, what was that?
I don't remember exactly what the communication was.
So did you and Alex stay in Rexburg, or did you head back to Arizona after you got engaged?
I came back to Arizona. Alex stayed over there. And I invited him to come down to spend Thanksgiving with me and my family.
And did he do that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any communication with Chad or Lori on Thanksgiving?
No.
Okay. To your knowledge, did Alex?
No.
Do you know if Alex was having regular communication with Chad and Lori sort of from the time you got engaged until around Thanksgiving?
I know they were having a lot of communication all the time, daily and on a daily basis, several times a day, perhaps. But when he left Rexburg to come down to Arizona, he told me that they had stopped communicating with him. And even though he was trying to call them and sending them text, they weren't answering him.
And what was his reaction to sort of going from lots of communication to no communication?
He was upset. He said something like, can you believe they're being such jerks after how much I have helped them? Now they don't even want to talk to me.
Okay. Now, let me step back and say, do you remember when hearing that Tammy Daybell had been shot?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what day she was shot?
Yes.
What day was she shot?
If my memory serves me right, it was October 9th.
Okay. And were you having, do you believe she was shot that day or shot at that day?
Shot at.
Okay. How did you find out about that?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember hearing about Tammy actually dying and being killed? Or shot, I'm sorry, I apologize. Do you remember hearing about Tammy dying?
Yes.
Okay. How did you hear about that?
Melanie Gibb called me to tell me that Tammy had died the night before.
And what was your reaction?
A little bit of confusion. I didn't know how she had died. I didn't know what to think.
Okay. But prior to do that, you had learned that she had been shot at by someone.
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever present with Lori around that time that Tammy was shot at?
Yes, the same night.
Okay. And so what were you guys doing that night that you learned Tammy had been shot at?
Lori had come down to, excuse me, to Arizona, and she had texted me earlier during the day and asked me to come to Melanie Boudreaux's house because she needed my help with something and she needed to see me.
Okay. And did you go?
Yes.
All right. What happened when you got to Melanie Boudreaux's house in Arizona?
Lori told me that Tammy had been possessed by a demon and that it was no longer her, kind of like the same thing that she had said about Charles, and that she needed my help casting out from her.
Okay. And did you guys do a casting on Tammy?
Yes.
Okay. What was that demon's name, if you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. Was his name Viola sound right?
Yes, that sounds right.
All right. And so while you're doing the casting on Tammy, trying to get Viola out, who was there?
Melanie Boudreaux was there. Her children were all asleep. And while Lori and I were doing the casting, Melanie got a phone call, and she was on a phone call while we were doing the casting.
Okay. How did the casting on Tammy end?
Lori said that she had received some new information on how to do a casting that he could work, and we were going to be using the Cosmos, and can't remember exactly what other things, but no, we were going to be using this. And then afterwards, she gave me tons of praise for how awesome I was and how great I was. And then afterwards, she received a phone call from someone.
Okay. And was she near you when she got that phone call?
Yes.
Okay. What was her attitude and demeanor when she got that phone call?
She was very, very angry, scary angry.
Okay. And now this is the night that Tammy was shot at.
Correct?
Okay. So while she's on the phone, she appears angry and scary angry. Did you hear anything she said?
Yeah, she was using some very derogatory terms such as idiot, moron, and just being very, very angry with whoever she was on the phone with.
After she got off the phone, what did she say to you?
She said, idiot, can't do anything right by himself.
All right. Now, eventually, you heard that Tammy had actually died, right?
Correct.
And you told us that Melanie Gibb had called you, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's move on and ask, after you learned that Tammy died, did you talk to Lori about that situation with her and Chad? Now that Tammy's gone, what did Lori say was going to happen?
Well, she said that that Chad and her had received instructions and visitations from angels that had come and taught them how to cast out demons, and now they knew how to do it. And that is the reason why Tammy had passed away, because they were able to finally learn how to do casting of a demon.
What did she say about her and Chad's future together?
Well, at first, she said that Chad and her were saying that they were going to be in Rexburg, and that's where they were going to be building Zion, and that this was going to be a place of refuge. And then all of a sudden they said that they were going to be going somewhere else.
Did she say in the few days after Tammy died, did she say where Chad was going to be living?
Yes, she said that the day after the funeral, Chad was going to be moving into her apartment.
What was your reaction, and did you say anything?
I did. I said, isn't that a little too fast when there should be some time for grieving?
And what did she say?
Nothing.
Okay. So you mentioned that she and Chad had been talking about everybody kind of creating Zion in Rexburg. Did they tell you, that things changed, or that they were leaving and going somewhere else?
They didn't say anything. They just left.
Okay. And then you learned they got married in Hawaii.
Correct.
Okay. Did there come a point where they came back from Hawaii and visited you in Phoenix?
Yes, on the way back from Hawaii, they had a layover in Phoenix, and they were staying at a hotel in Gilbert, close to my house, and they asked me to come and see them at their hotel, and they asked me to go have dinner with them and then drop them off at the airport.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. During that dinner, did you ask about either Tylee or JJ?
I asked where was JJ and who was taking care of him if they were in Hawaii.
And what did they tell you?
She told me that JJ was with Kay and that she had given him to her.
Okay. Now, did there come a point, and I don't think I've asked you this, so I apologize. What day did you marry Alex Cox?
December 1st.
Okay. And did there come a point before you married Alex Cox that you got a call from Melanie Gibb? Or was it after you married Alex that you got a call from Melanie Gibb about Chad and Lori's teachings?
After.
Okay. And so, for context, what did Melanie Gibb say to you?
She was very upset. She said she felt that she was very emotional. She was very upset. She said that she felt that JJ and Tylee were missing, and she didn't know what had happened to them, and she felt that we had been deceived by Chad and Lori, and that they were asking her to lie for them, and she felt that they were doing something wrong, and she.
So what was your reaction to that conversation?
Utter confusion. I was confused. I didn't know what to think or how to process that information. To hear my friends saying that all of this was happening, and then at the same time knowing how much trust I had put into these two people. It was very, very confusing, and I was very distraught and confused.
And did you turn to Alex, who you were married to at this time, and ask him about it?
I did.
What did he say?
He was very quiet, not himself, not his usual self. I asked him, how can Kay be looking for JJ when JJ is supposed to be with her? How can the person that's taking care of him be looking for him? And
what did he say to you?
He said, I know. And
did you ask him more about it?
He just didn't answer me. I'm sorry. I'm just being distracted.
That's okay. You okay?
I was just distracted by what's happening in the end at the back of the room.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It happens. Okay. So you were talking to Alex about the call you'd gotten from Melanie Gibb, right? And did he say anything about Tylee missing? Did you ask him about that?
No.
Okay. At some point, did you learn that the police were looking for JJ, Tylee, Lori, and Chad?
Not until after Alex had died.
Okay. So let's do this. So what day did Alex pass away?
December 12th.
Okay. Had you received information about anything going on in Rexburg, or actually in Utah, the day before Alex passed away?
I had a very long day at work, and I came home probably around 7:30 p.m. And when I came into my bedroom, Alex was on the phone with Chad and Lori, and they were telling him that Tammy's body was being exhumed on that day. That was December 11th.
Okay. And were you present in the room with him while he was on the phone with Chad and Lori?
Yes.
Okay. Could you did you ask him about that conversation?
After they were done talking, after they hung up, yeah.
Okay. What did you ask him about?
I was very confused about the reason why they would be exhuming Tammy's body. And I was asking him, why would they be exhuming her body? If she had died of natural causes, or, and I asked him if he was involved in anything that to do with Tammy's death.
Okay. And then what did he say?
He said no.
Okay. Did you ask him anything else?
Yes, I kept pressuring him.
And then what?
Things were very, very weird at this time. They just seemed that there was so much going on, and so weird and so bizarre. And I started pressuring him for information. So I told him, I said, what is going on? What is happening? How come they are not here? You don't even know where they're at. We don't even know where they're at now.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
Lori and Chad. We don't know where Lori and Chad are at. What is happening?
And what reaction did he have? Ultimately, what did he say?
He was very quiet and unresponsive, and then he said, I think I'm being their fall guy. Meaning.
And what did you say?
I said, fall guy for what? What is it that you have done? What have you done that you would be the fall guy for? It was like I kept pressuring him, and I was so frustrated because he wasn't answering me. So I would walk away, and he would say something, and then I would come back, and then I would pressure him again, and then he said, one of the times when I was walking away from him, he said, Zuleima, either I am a man of God or I am not.
And then Alex passed away the next day?
He passed away the next day.
Okay. Now, I have some additional questions, but let's talk a little bit. You had mentioned earlier about a journal, correct? And some drawings that you had from Lori, or that you gave to law enforcement?
Yes, correct. I keep a journal all the time.
Okay. Your Honor, may the witness be handed State's Exhibit 54?
Yes.
Okay. Now, defense counsel has a copy of all of this, but I'm not sure he's seen the envelope. Oh, actually, he did see the envelope, but
I like to see it right now.
okay.
Smith, I don't know if I have a court copy.
No, it's the actual exhibit, Judge. But we can, if the court wants copies of the physical exhibits, we can certainly do that.
No, I'll take if it's documents, I prefer that, but I'll take a look
Okay.
at it first before it's handed to the witness, please.
Yes, sir. And for the future reference, if it's a document that's in evidence, you want a copy?
I would appreciate that, yes.
Sure, we're happy to do that. Would you take a look at each of those, and then I'll ask you some questions. But we can't show the jury yet. It's not yet admitted or published, so I need you to look at each of those first.
Okay. Yeah, these are all the pages from my...
I'm sorry, what are those?
These are all the pages, not all of them, but the pages from my journal.
Okay. That you referenced showing and giving to law enforcement?
Correct.
Okay. And are they true and accurate copies of the pages of your journal that you've referenced in your testimony today?
Yes.
Okay. Move for the admission of State's Exhibit 54, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Exhibit 54 will be admitted.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Permission to publish to the jury, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. Okay. Now, ma'am, State's Exhibit 54 has multiple pages in this document, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's start with the front page, which is a yellow sheet of paper with some drawings on it. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a diagram.
What is it of?
This is a diagram of multiple creations and multiple worlds that one person can come to.
Okay. And is this a diagram based on teachings given to you by Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
Lori and Chad.
And so what is on, for me, it is on the left side of the paper. What are those words in that drawing?
So those are creations, or those are five worlds that were created, and each one of them there is a Satan and a Savior. There is each one of those worlds or creations were done separately, and the fifth creation or the fifth world is the earth, which is the lowest and the darkest world. This depicts what Lori and Chad said that I had lived. According to them, I had lived 5 times on the third creation, 4 times in the fourth creation, and 4 times in the fifth creation. On the side, on the bottom, it says limbo, and this is where Lori and Chad taught that the spirits who had been pushed out by if a person dies, there is a 2-minute window in which a demon can take over that body and inhabit it, and such as what they were saying that had happened to Charles and had happened to Tammy. And the original spirit of that person goes into limbo. It doesn't move anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's just in limbo because it's waiting for the body to be put to rest.
So let me ask you, so when a person's spirit is pushed out of their body and the evil spirit gets into their body, the person's spirit goes to limbo?
Correct.
So for Charles, his spirit was put into limbo, according to Chad and Lori.
Correct.
And again, did Alex Cox believe this?
Oh, absolutely. Can you put that back? Because there's one.
Sure. Is there anything else of relevance on it?
Yes. See where it says brother of Heavenly Father and Jesus.
Yes.
Chad had claimed that in another of those creations, he had been the brother of Heavenly Father and Jesus, and in another creation, he had been the Holy Ghost.
And if such things were true within the circle of people around Chad and Lori, would that have given Chad authority and power?
Oh, absolutely. He would have been spiritually the highest of anybody that we would know.
Okay. And where was Lori's rankings in all of this?
Well, he had chosen her to be his wife, so, and they had already been married 7 times before on this earth, and they had actually been in other worlds together also. So they had been married and exalted together in other worlds. So then that was his companion, therefore put her in the same spiritual standing as he would.
Okay. And did Alex believe all that?
Absolutely.
Now, with that document is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 18 pages from your journal, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to show you the first page and a couple of other pages. What are we looking at the front page of the stapled 18-page document that is your copy of your journal?
This is the ratings that Chad and Lori taught. So that would be going from a 1 is in the spirit world, and when you come the first time on the earth, you're at 2. Second time you come, you're at 3. The 4th time you come for 1, and so on and so forth. And it would be exactly the same thing for ratings if you were light or if you were dark. So this will be the rating, either 1L for 1 light or 1D for 1 dark.
And then is it, so the lowest level is at 1 and
Correct.
the highest level is 6 or 7?
6.
Okay. And this is the numbering scale for both the light and the dark.
Correct.
And forgive me, I think you told us, were you a 4.2 light?
I believe so.
Okay. And what was Lori when she first talked to you and introduced the idea?
4.3 light.
Okay. So higher than you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. On the 4th page of the exhibit, there is a phrase cast out. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. And it says get rid of them. How, once the evil spirit is pushed out of a body, how do you destroy the body?
I don't know if there was a way to destroy the body. What this would depict would be that since Lori and Chad were saying that every time that one demon was cast out, and then will leave that 2-minute window for another one to come in, then spiritually we needed to
How do you prevent another?
prevent from another
Right.
demon to come in by doing certain things, such as putting water in fire and destroying the body in order to be able so that there will be no way that another demon could come in.
Okay. And so in order to make sure a demon doesn't come back, the body has to be destroyed in some way.
Correct.
Burning is one way.
Correct.
Destroying, does that mean, taking apart? Is that another way?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything about binding?
I believe so.
Okay. What about binding the body?
I believe so that there was one like that too.
Okay. May I have State's Exhibit, I believe, 8N and 8M, please?
Yes.
Previously admitted, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. Do you want to take this one? So I don't accidentally forget to give it to you. Here, thank you. Clumsy. Thanks. All right. Ma'am, these exhibits have been previously admitted, State's Exhibit 8M and 8N. These, do you recognize what these scales are, if you could see them? Let me see if I can zoom in. Focus. I may just have to show the witness the exhibit. Can you see it? Is it focused for you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you know what these are?
Yes, I do.
What are these?
The one on the left-hand side is here again is the scale of the ratings of the people who are upon the earth right now, and Chad had put here how many twos, because remember, one is still in a spiritual form, so a 2 would be billions of males and females, then a 3 would be only 700,000, for 1 would be 70,000, for 2's only 7,000, and so on and so forth, up to a 6.
Now, I do notice you mentioned the page that's on the left-hand side of the exhibit, because it's a photograph of a couple of pages. And what's the page sort of in the middle of the exhibit, the middle right side? Can you see any of that?
Yes. I believe this is when Lori asked Chad to give her the rating for all of her family.
Okay. Now, if you could, do you see a rating for her daughter, Tylee Ryan?
Judge, I'm going to object, and may I voir dire in aid of an objection?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Pastenes, had you seen these
Yes.
before?
Yes.
Before today?
Yes.
And who showed these to you?
I don't remember,
You don't remember?
but I have seen them before. Yeah.
Okay. Lori didn't show them to you, did she?
I don't remember.
Chad didn't show them to you, did he?
Actually, Chad did have this on his computer, and then, yes, he did show me this in his computer.
When?
At the meeting in August of 2019 at Lori's house.
Did it have all at Lori's house in August of 2017? Sorry, one more time. What was the date on that?
I believe it was in early August of 2019.
2019, early August.
I believe that's what the day was,
Okay.
to the best of my recollection.
Okay. And did it have all this handwriting on it?
No.
No. So it was a different document?
It was in his computer. It was the same document in computer format, whether it was Word format or something like that.
And he explained to you what all the stuff was?
Yeah, he had this and several others.
Okay. All right, Judge, I guess I don't have an objection.
Okay. You can continue with your examination, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I asked you about the rating for Tylee Ryan. That's down in the middle of the page. Under the phrase third husband.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I see it now.
What was Tylee's rating?
4.1 dark.
Okay. And on that same document, under Tylee, there is ratings for Charles Vallow, correct?
Yes.
And what was his rating now?
3 light.
What was the rating for Melanie Boudreau? I believe that's down at the end, and I know the print's hard and the scale, the lighting's hard in here.
3 light.
Okay. And what about Brandon? What was Brandon's rating?
3 dark.
Okay. And this was based on teachings from Chad?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, previously you have talked about States Exhibits 52 and 53. Do you remember talking about some of those? Okay. Let me show you, if I may, Your Honor. Show you States Exhibits 52, C, D, and E. See if you recognize those. Or, 52C, D, and E. May I show those to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
What is 52C, D, and E?
These ones are pictures that were taken at the Preparing a People conference in Rexburg.
Okay. And who was at that Preparing a People conference in Rexburg?
Chad Daybell, Serena Sharp, Melanie Gibb, and I.
Okay. Was Lori at that conference?
No.
Okay. And are each of those true and accurate pictures of the people who attended the Preparing of People conference? And was that in 2018 or was that in 2019? Okay. Are each of those true and accurate pictures of the people who attended that conference?
Yes.
Move for the admission of 52C, D, and E.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right. 52C, 52D, and 52E are all admitted.
All right, ma'am, let's turn first to 52C. I apologize, Your Honor, permission to publish?
You can.
I got ahead of myself. What are we looking at 52C?
On the left-hand side, it's me, Audrey, Danae, and Serena Sharp.
Okay. And you've mentioned Audrey before? Was she part of Did she attend several of the conferences?
Yes.
Okay. Was she friends with Chad?
Yes.
What is 52D?
So in these pictures, we are at Chad's table. In the left-hand side is Chad. The next lady, I don't remember who she is. Then it's Serena, Melanie, and I.
And 52E? What is that?
This is another picture of that conference. I don't remember the first lady on the left. Then it's Melanie, Serena, I, Audrey, and then I don't remember the other lady's name.
Okay. But you're in the middle in red?
I am in the middle, yes,
Okay.
in the red scarf.
All right. And Serena is on one side of you and Audrey's on the other?
Correct.
And then Melanie Gibb is on the further to your picture in the right.
Yes.
Okay. And if I may, Your Honor, state would like to show the witness State's Exhibit 53B.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a picture of me and Serena at the Rexburg preparing a people conference.
Okay. Is that a true and accurate picture of you and Serena at the Rexburg preparing a people conference?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I move for the admission of 53B.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't believe there's any relevance to this picture. It's just a picture of. I don't believe it has any tie to Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell.
I'll note the objection. I'll also note that, well, I guess it's been previously indicated by the witness that it was a different location as well. The question I have, though, is what is the relevance of that picture to the state's case?
I'm going to ask the witness some questions about conversations that occurred at the Rexburg preparing a people conference.
And Your Honor, I guess my objection is I was going to say that this also was earlier referenced to be at another location, and now she's changing the location. I think if she wants to do that, maybe if she could offer us some sort of an offer of proof at a sidebar or something.
Okay. Well, at this point, I will sustain the objection on relevance grounds.
Okay. Did you have conversations with Chad Daybell at the preparing a people conference?
Yes, I always spoke with him during the conferences.
Okay. And do you remember, was this preparing a people conference before or after Charles died?
Before.
Okay. And was it before or after he had talked to you about his light and dark scales? When I say he, I apologize. Chad had talked to you about the light and dark scales, if you remember.
I don't remember
Okay.
which one was first.
Okay. Do you remember your conversation with Chad at the Rexburg, preparing a people conference?
I'm sorry, I'm thrown off by the question because this is the Boise.
Okay.
This is the Boise conference, and yes, I did talk to him
Okay.
during that conference.
So let me make sure I'm clear. Can you look at the exhibit sticker on the back? I just want to make sure we have it straight. What's the number on the back?
53B.
Okay. And I apologize. What conference was it that this was at?
This is the Preparing a People Boise
Conference.
conference.
Okay. Did you have conversations with Chad Daybell at the Preparing a People conference in Boise?
Yes, I had conversations with him during the conference and after the conference.
Okay.
We were staying at the same hotel.
Okay. And when was this? Before or after Charles died?
Before.
Okay. Was it before or after Chad had met Lori?
After.
Okay. Was it before or after Charles and Lori had split up?
It was after they had split up.
Okay. So could you, so sometime in the late winter, early spring of 2019? Would that be correct?
I would say that's accurate.
Okay. So what conversation did you have with Chad Daybell at the Boise Preparing a People conference?
We talked about Lori was supposed to be at this conference, and we talked about how she was unable to make it because she canceled her trip at the last minute because she was thinking that Charles was going to serve her during this conference. We also talked about.
What can I ask you? Serve her how?
At this point, counsel, we've had an offer of an exhibit. We had an objection with some questions, a native objection, and I thought we were back just laying foundation, but it sounds like, I don't know if we've moved on from the exhibit or you're still laying foundation to get the exhibit in.
I apologize. I thought the court wanted me to continue to lay the foundation. That's what I was going for.
I just wondered if we were still in a foundational line of questioning.
I can do it either way. I can move for the admission again, having laid additional foundation, or I can finish this section up.
Let me just ask, Mr. Thomas, is there an objection continuing at this point with the additional questioning and answers you've heard here?
No, Judge, will not object.
Okay, so 53B was offered. It's now been admitted, and you can continue your questioning, Ms. Smith. Thank you.
I'm sorry. What did Chad say about Lori not being there?
We talked about how it was best for her not to be there so that she could be protected because in that way the person that was going to be there to serve her couldn't find her.
Okay. And why was Lori not getting served with divorce papers in a way of protecting her?
I don't know.
Okay. And who was present with you at this conference?
Melanie Gibb, Serena, Audrey, and I were there.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I will renew my request for the admission of State's Exhibit 53B.
It's already been admitted.
Oh, thank you, Judge. I'm sorry. May we publish it to the jury?
Yes.
And that's a picture of?
And that's Serena and I.
Okay. Now, turning towards some additional questions, there was your description of castings. Did the castings always stay the same? Were they handled the exact same way each time?
They were similar, but not the same.
Okay. How was it different than just praying for someone?
So when we are praying for someone, we are asking for whatever that person may need, or blessing them, or asking for help or deliverance, or whatever it may be that that person is needing. casting is specifically to cast out an evil spirit or a demon.
And there were castings on Charles
Yes.
that you participated in.
Yes.
Castings on Tammy that you participated in.
Yes.
Okay. The group of people that was that would come to your house or meet with Chad and Lori, were each of them given gifts or told that they had spiritual, significance?
Yes.
Okay. So, what was Melanie Gibb's gift?
She was a gatherer.
Okay. What was your gift?
Chad said that I was my gift was the elements.
What does that mean?
To be able to work with the elements.
All right.
I didn't quite get the response on Melanie's gift. What was that?
Melanie Gibb's gift was
A gatherer.
a gatherer. Okay. And just what does that mean? What does gatherer mean?
Gathering people who were awake.
Okay. What does awake mean?
Awake to the signs, aware of the times, and aware of the things that are to come prior to the second coming.
Okay. And yours was to work with the elements?
Correct.
Okay. And these were gifts identified or described for you by Lori and Chad?
Yes.
Okay. Did Lori tell you this, or did Chad? Or
Chad.
both? Chad. Okay. What was Serena? What was her gift?
Chad said that she was a very powerful goddess.
Okay. What about Melanie Boudreau? I think you call her Melly, but Melanie Boudreau. What was her gift?
I don't remember
Okay.
what her gift was.
Okay. And what was Alex's gift or responsibility?
He was a warrior.
Okay. And a warrior for what?
Chad had told him that he was going to be a warrior, a defender, and he was going to be training many other warriors that were going to be moving to Rexburg in the future.
Okay. And when you say a warrior defender, a defender of who?
Well, at that time, Chad had told Alex that he had come only once to this earth, and the sole purpose for him coming to this earth was so that he could be Lori's protector and defender.
Okay. Did Alex believe this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned about that Lori had talked about problems in her financial problems or problems in her marriage to Charles. Did you ever talk to Alex about that situation or about what happened to Charles?
I don't recall talking to Alex about their financial issues.
Do you recall talking to him about what happened to Charles?
Yes.
What did he say about what happened to Charles?
I asked him if he was okay after he had just shot someone. I thought he would be like in shock or struggling with what had happened. And he said, Zuleima, he was a zombie.
Did Lori explain to you anything about Charles's life insurance money?
Yeah, she mentioned that Charles had $1 million life insurance and that she was the beneficiary of it.
did she ever talk about other plans, that if the casting didn't work, did she talk about other ways to deal with Charles?
When we were at my house in March of 2019, and we had done the casting, she was laughing, and she said that, well, if it doesn't work, I can always put some pills in his water or something. And then she laughed it off.
Did Lori ever talk to you, or Lori and Chad ever talk to you about how long they expected JJ to live?
Lori had said that he was going to have a very short life. And then in a meeting that we had at Lori's house in early August
Of 2019?
He, Chad, said that JJ was going to have a very short life, that he was going to, the reason why he was going to live a short life was because he was going to come right back as Colby's child.
And to your knowledge, did Alex believe this?
Alex, yes, but Alex believed everything they told him.
Now, did you ever hear a conversation about how long Tylee was going to live?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did you ever have any information that she would die soon?
Not that I remember.
Okay. Now,
Ms. Smith?
yes, sir.
Pardon the interruption. Could we just have a brief sidebar with
Sure.
counsel about
Sure.
scheduling?
Sure.
All right, thanks, Ms. Smith. Apologies, we just were seeing where we are in terms of your direct. It sounds like there's not a whole lot left, so we'll let you complete your direct, and then we'll take our mid-afternoon recess after that.
Thank you, Judge. You need some water? You good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about people who personally witnessed Christ having an elevated status, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that would count for Lori Vallow if her testimony to you was believed by the group.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have any evidence to suggest that Lori believed such things? Did the rules apply to Lori?
Lori and Chad were teaching that if you had been exalted in another world, another probation, then this time that you came to the earth, it didn't count for you because you had already proven yourself another probation. And she would often say, it doesn't count for me.
Okay. You made a hand gesture. She would hit something and go,
It doesn't count for me.
okay. Okay. So when Lori shared these experiences and her personal belief that things didn't count for her, did the people in your group believe her?
I don't know whether other people believed her or not.
Did you believe her?
That part I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Okay.
I used to say, it counts for me.
Okay. Did Alex believe her?
Yeah, Alex believed everything she said.
Okay. Did Alex believe his mission was to protect her?
Absolutely.
And that mission was given to him by
Chad
and
Lori, because they gave it to him during a blessing.
okay. And who is it who benefited from Charles's death?
Lori directly, and eventually Chad.
Okay. Who benefited from Tylee's death?
Lori directly, and then eventually Chad.
And who benefited from JJ's death?
Lori directly, and eventually Chad.
And who benefited from
Jack, I
Tammy?
don't understand the context of who's benefiting and how they're benefiting.
I'll sustain the objection. I
Thank
think
you.
it's vague.
And Alex Alex took seriously his mission to protect Lori.
Absolutely.
I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. So we'll take our mid-afternoon break now, and we will try to make this 15 to 20 minutes if possible, and then cross-examination can start after that.
All right, please.
All right, thank you. Just before we bring the jurors back in, I'll indicate that on the break I've discussed with the bailiffs here in the courtroom that there have been some of the participants that are talking loudly enough that others are hearing. Some are making comments. In particular, anyone seated anywhere near the jurors are not permitted to do that. Anyone else who's making any kind of comment loud enough that it's disturbing anyone next to you or making any kind of commentary on the case itself is going to be excused from the court if that's loud enough that it disrupts these proceedings in any way. So I would appreciate everyone in continuing to comply with the conduct order. For those of you that want to view it from somewhere else, we have another location here in this courthouse that's available as well, but I appreciate everyone in considering that as we bring the jurors back in this afternoon, and we'll continue to enforce that throughout the proceedings going forward. So with that, if we'll go ahead and bring the jurors back in for continued testimony.
All right, please. Jury's not present. For you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, we just concluded our mid-afternoon break. We'll be back on the record. Case CR 22-211624, State of Idaho versus Lori Vallow. The witness, Zulema Pastenes, is on the stand. I'll remind you, you're still under oath for your testimony. And the state just concluded with its direct examination. So at this time, we will start with the cross-examination. Mr. Thomas, will that be you today?
It will, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thomas, you can inquire.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pastenes. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So, just a little bit curious. It looks your testimony this afternoon was dramatically different than your testimony this morning. Did you review any notes over the lunch hour or talk to anybody about the case over the lunch hour?
No,
Okay.
my nerves were quite different this morning than this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Did you take any medication?
No, but I ate lunch.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So you first met Lori, it looks like in 2019 or 2018? 2018, is that right?
2018.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was in late fall, early winter?
Yes, fall of 2018.
Okay. And that had to do with a conference for I'm not sure if it was a preparing a people, but it was one of those types of conferences. Is that right?
It was at a meeting at Melanie Gibb's house.
Okay. And was that in relation to preparing a people, or what kind of a meeting was it?
Melanie usually would have different people coming to speak at her house. Sometimes they would talk about a book. Sometimes they would talk about food storage. Sometimes other topics.
Okay.
So they're just different topics all the time.
Were these the kinds of topics that you would also encounter at the Preparing a People conferences that you would go to?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. All right. And you met Lori there, and the two of you became friends over the year or so?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that connected you, I'm assuming, is your faith. You're both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you're both, I don't want to say fairly active, because most fairly active people go to church once a week and just do the basics. But you guys were kind of, you and your core group, I guess what I'm saying is you, Melanie Gibb, Lori, some of the other people that you mentioned, were kind of very active in the church. Is that right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. You would go to the temple quite often?
Yes.
And sometimes that's where you would meet up with these other women, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as you've indicated on direct exam, these meetups weren't just for spiritual gain; they were also just to get together, just a group of friends, right?
Sometimes, yes.
But or was it more or less mostly about the spiritual portion of your life, or was it? Or was there kind of a divide between these are my regular friends and then these are my church friends? Does that make any sense?
It does make sense what you're saying. I would say that when I was meeting with Lori, we usually were talking about spiritual things.
Okay, all right. And one of the things that you indicated on direct examination with the prosecution, and one of the things I think that kind of maybe drew you to Lori was her personal experience with meeting Jesus, or having a personal experience where she had a personal visitation. Was that something that kind of intrigued you?
I don't know if I would use the term intrigue me as much as when someone has an experience like that. It is the ultimate, most sacred experience that any human can have.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I find it, I would say, intriguing as much as I found it amazing.
Amazing. And so you wanted to hear more about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And over the course of the year or so that you guys were friends, that came up a lot, right?
Yes.
And you had your own experiences when you were in the temple sometimes, right?
Yes.
I specifically remember reviewing some of your text messages, specifically to Chad, where you talk about having spiritual experiences while you were in the temple, right?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about some of that?
Objection relevance about her personal experiences?
What's the relevance?
Your Honor, it goes to her personal belief in Lori's belief and Chad's belief, and how close she was to this specific group.
I'll overrule the objection and allow the
Thank you.
question. So if you want to reiterate the question, perhaps, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. Would you please tell us a little bit about some of your spiritual experiences while you were in the temple?
Would you like me to relate anything in specific that you are referring to?
Sure. One of the ones was specifically on 12/4/2018. It says, "Hi, Chad, this is Zuleima. I have to tell you that since you gave me that blessing, I've been having visions, full awake, no more dreams. My visions have been at the temple. I've had 3 so far." Do you recall that?
Yes,
So
I do.
tell me a little bit about some of those visions.
Judge, I'm going to object again about the specific visions. I'm not seeing their relevance about her visions unless they relate to Chad and Lori.
Well, there was a lot of questioning about what she believed, and I think this does go directly to that issue, so I'll overrule that objection at this point. I will indicate it could certainly get too broad, Mr. Thomas,
Sure.
but you've narrowed this into communications she had with Chad Daybell, so for that reason I'll allow it.
Thank you.
I am not exactly sure specifically which visions he would be that I was referring to at the time. I can explain one that I remember. I remember seeing myself in a beautiful room with a big table, and I was sitting at the head of the table, and there was all these children or people sitting. It was a very large table, and that's what I saw.
And there was a man sitting on the other end?
Yes.
Okay. And you couldn't see his face, but he was a godlike being?
Yes, a very light being. Mm-hmm.
And it says, I'm just reading specifically from this text message that you're describing. It says, I couldn't see his face, but he was a godlike being. And then in parentheses you said, I think I read being shown my posterity and my husband. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you also indicated on direct examination that Chad had given you a blessing about you being married. Is that right?
Correct.
Were you currently married when he gave you that blessing?
No.
No? Okay. Had you been married before the blessing?
Yes.
Multiple times or just one time?
Multiple times.
Okay. So you being married wasn't a super far stretch about getting married, right? Him giving you a blessing about getting married?
No.
Okay. When you were doing these castings, is that what they were called? Is that what you called them, just castings?
Yes.
Okay. They were done spiritually, not physically. Am I right about that?
Correct.
Okay. You never physically harmed anyone or attempted to harm anyone, right?
Correct.
You were attempting to spiritually harm or bind the spirit of that particular person, right?
Correct.
Okay. You were, I guess I want to use the word light worker, or someone who works for, who is working in a spiritual realm for the lighter side. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. And this was, you didn't think that this was anything evil or anything bad?
No.
Okay.
Not at the time.
But you've since then come to think that it was evil or bad?
There are 2 children that have died and a mother of 5 that have died. I will consider that evil, yes, sir.
Okay. And you believe that your casting out of spirits had some direct effect on 2 children that died and the spouse of another person that died?
My belief is that...
I'm sorry, that's just a yes or no question.
Objection. Answer should be allowed to answer.
And I think that counsel can handle that on redirect.
I agree. It was just a leading yes or no question, so why don't you re-ask the question, Mr. Thomas, or I can have the court reporter indicate what it was.
So, to my recollection, what you're saying is you believe that your work on casting had a direct effect on the 2 children that died and the spouse of the person that died.
Not my work, but Chad and Lori's work did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You have a job when you're in Arizona. You said that on direct exam that you have a job, right?
Correct.
Is that job being a life coach?
No.
Okay. What is your job?
I am a job coach,
Job coach. Okay.
employment specialist.
Employment specialist. So what is that? You teach people how to, I'm sorry, I guess I won't even ask. What is that? What does that mean?
I teach people how to create resumes, how to apply for jobs. I help them get in place in jobs, and then I train them in their jobs.
Okay. And so you're not a, I mean, that's a fairly sophisticated job, right?
I don't find it sophisticated. It's just a hard job, but I
Okay.
don't consider it sophisticated.
You're more sophisticated than the people that you're helping, otherwise they wouldn't need your help, right?
I'm more knowledgeable, yes.
More knowledgeable. Okay. And so I guess what I'm getting at is you're not a very gullible person, right? I mean, you have some sophistication.
I believe that I have always been the kind of person that believes people and that believes that if I am not going to do something, someone else wouldn't do it either. So if I've been the kind of person that believes in the goodness of people, I see their positive side, their good side, and I tried to believe that their intentions are always good. I have become a lot more cautious since meeting Chad and Lori, and my views have changed a little in regards to that.
Okay. So when you met Chad and Lori, you thought they were doing good work.
I thought they were kind, loving, righteous, law-abiding.
Did you believe that they were led by the Spirit?
At the time, yes.
Okay. You talked a little bit about a time when you were at Lori's house after a conference in St. George, and then everybody kind of went back to, there was another conference, and then everybody kind of went back to Lori's house. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And you were there that night?
Yes.
And were you ordained to the Church of the Firstborn on that night?
I don't recall that happening that night.
Okay. Do you recall when that happened, the ordaining to the Church of the Firstborn?
I know it's done, but I don't remember when.
You don't remember when, but you know that it did happen.
Yes.
Okay. And on that night that Chad gave you a blessing in Lori's house, you indicated that the blessing said that you were a special person, that you were a special being, that you were going to do some amazing things in the future. Is that right? All those things are right?
Correct.
Was there anything specifically, like, personal to you other than, I mean, those were kind of generalized blessing type words, right?
I don't know if I would call that generalized. I believe that Chad was very good about giving blessings to give you lots of praise and make you feel very special and make you feel very good about the person that you were. I don't quite recall anything else that was more personal than that on that blessing. If there was, I don't remember it.
Okay. You've heard other people get blessings, right?
Yes, plenty.
And this particular blessing, the way you described it, is a pretty generic or a pretty run-of-the-mill type blessing, right?
I would have to, in one way, disagree, in another one, agree. Usually, when I receive a blessing, will be for either strength or a health blessing, and it would be more directed towards that the strength that I need to, whether it's to overcome the challenge that I am faced with, or to overcome the illness that I am experiencing at the time. So I don't feel that that blessing was as generic to the other blessings that I have received from other members of the church.
And I guess on that note, did you specifically seek Chad out to get a blessing for either health or for some specific reason?
On that night or
Yeah.
any other time?
No, on that particular night.
Not on that particular night, no.
Did
He
you just,
offered.
Oh, he offered to give you a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He asked me to come to Lori's house so that he could give me a blessing.
Okay. And did I think you indicated that he also gave Alex a blessing that night? Or
Not
no?
on that occasion.
That was a different occasion, okay.
Correct.
On that specific night, do you recall him giving anybody else blessings?
No, only to me.
Okay. I guess that was pretty personal to you then, because if you were the only one getting a blessing.
Correct.
Okay. We talked a little bit, or the prosecutor talked to you a little bit about having a lunch at Firebirds. Is that right?
Yes.
And where is Firebirds?
In Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. And what was the occasion? How far in time from the time that he came to Lori's house and gave you that blessing to when you met up with him at Firebirds?
Oh. I can't remember the specific date, but it was in 2019 that he came.
Okay. Was it a month later, 2 months later, 5 months later? Can you recall? That's just too much?
I don't recall when he came.
Okay. You did make quite a few, have quite a few text messages with Chad. Were you texting him fairly regularly, do you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. And you were basically texting him about what kinds of things, mostly spiritual things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Asking him questions.
That time that he was at Firebirds and he wanted to give you some specific information, you said that he specifically didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear that. Is that right?
Him and Lori, for some reason, didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear what he was going to say to me.
Okay. And what exactly, tell me again, what exactly did he say to you about that he didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear?
He said he had information about who I was and my past lives.
Mm-hmm. And did that resonate with you?
I was very curious about it.
Okay. And when he told you about it, that was a pretty personal thing for you, right?
Yes.
He specifically said that you had lived You indicated that you lived on this particular earth 4 different times. Is that right?
That's what he said.
Okay. And on the second time is when he told you about the second time you were here on this earth, right?
He told me about all of them.
About all of them. But this one at Firebirds, he specifically told you about the second time, right? Or am I wrong? That's what I recall from your testimony.
At Firebirds, he said that he had information in regards to who I was and about my past lives. And he said that since Lori and Chad didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear it, I don't know why, that he will give me a call later. Then he called me, and then he related to me all of my past lives, and the second one including.
Oh, so he relayed to you all of your past lives.
Correct.
I see. But the only one that you testified to was the second time.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how to describe that, but I think that that life was the one that was the most shocking to say.
Well, yeah. I mean, you said that you were 14 years old, you were raped and murdered, and at the same time that Lori was your mother, and Lori was also murdered that time, right?
That's what Chad said, yes.
All right. And did you pray about that or think, or did you have some sort of spiritual experience related to that?
No spiritual experience, but I did believe him.
You believed him? Mm-hmm. Were you confirmed by the Spirit, or it was just a belief in him the way he said it?
It was my belief in him.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to look at State's Exhibit 54, or Exhibit 54 that was admitted. How does this work? So this is part of State's Exhibit 54. Do you recall testifying about that?
Yes.
Okay. And it's just a sheet of paper that you turned over to the police or the prosecutor, is that right?
Yes.
Which one? Was it the police or was it the prosecutor? I don't know.
I believe it's the prosecutor, right?
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
You're not allowed to look at them and ask you for clarification. If you don't remember, you don't remember.
I gave all of this stuff when they came to talk to me in Arizona, so I'm not exactly sure whether I should say police so I guess I don't know.
Okay. And when was that?
I don't remember when they came, I'm sorry.
Okay. And are you the one who drew this? Is this your handwriting?
That is my handwriting.
And you drew all of the things on the paper that you can see on the paper?
Yes.
Okay. And did you draw this during the interview with the police? Or was this drawn some other time?
I don't remember.
Okay, and that's a fair statement. Do you know why you drew it?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm now going to show you page 1 of the large packet of Exhibit 54. Can you identify that?
Yes.
And did you draw that yourself?
Yes.
Is that on the back of a receipt or something, or is that in a journal? What is that?
This is my journal.
Okay. Did you ever, I think there was some testimony about you having some information on the back of a receipt. Was any of that in any of the stuff that you looked at today?
No.
Okay. And this was drawn in your journal?
Yes.
Do you know what day it was drawn?
No.
Okay. Do you recall about when it was drawn?
This was drawn around the time that Lori and Chad started to teach us about the different levels that people had. So I'm going to say probably February, March of 2019, around
Okay.
there.
And this was in one of your journals, and would this be something that you took with you while you were talking with Chad and Lori or other people?
Yes.
So you would have done this contemporaneously or at the same time, around the same time as you were discussing the levels and other matters with Chad and Lori, is that right?
Yes.
But you don't specifically recall when you did this particular one?
No, I wouldn't know specifically the date, but it would have been around that time when they were teaching this.
Okay. All right. And would that have been one of the days when Chad was down in Arizona, or would that have been sometime where you learned at some other place?
It could have been either one of them.
Okay. So this is specifically a page that was talked about with regards to the words cast out. Do you recall testifying about that?
Yes.
Okay. And when you testified about that, tell me a little bit about this page, when it was written, or what was going through your mind when you were writing it. Do you have any recollection of that?
This was done around the time when we were doing castings on Charles. So it had to be in between March and July of 2019. And these were just steps that could be followed to cast out an evil spirit.
Okay. Let's just take it from the top. It's the first one says, what does it say? What's the very top say? Order?
I believe that I was trying to write order of the priesthood.
Okay. And so that's part of the prayer, you say, in the order of the priesthood, or something to that effect?
Correct.
Okay. And then number 2, what was that? Dispel. What does that mean?
Dispel or encapsulate.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not exactly sure what he meant.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure it made sense to me then, but now I don't recall what he meant.
Okay. Then the next thing says cast out, right? What does that mean?
Casting out, like ordering it to leave the body.
Ordering the spirit to leave the body.
The evil spirit or demon.
Okay. All right.
Leave.
What about number 5, burn?
Burn would be if we wanted to make sure that there was no option for another evil spirit or another demon to come in within that 2-minute window that they were saying that another demon could come and take over. So, but if we burned around the body, then there wouldn't be that opportunity.
Okay, so when you say that there's a 2-minute window, is that a literal 2-minute window?
Yeah, that's what Lori and Chad would say, yes.
Okay, and you believe that?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
Now I don't.
Now you think there's a larger window?
Now I don't believe anything that they said. I believe that they made it all up.
So you don't believe that demons can be cast out of humans?
I don't believe that the way that anything that they did was right or correct. No.
Okay.
Do I believe that an evil spirit can be cast out?
Yes.
Yes, because it was done in the Bible, and Jesus Christ did do it.
Okay.
But I believe that was completely different than what they were trying to do.
Okay. So people can be cast, or evil spirits can be cast out, but just not by Chad and Lori, in your opinion.
I just don't believe that Chad, Lori, would have the authority to do that, nor the right intentions.
Okay. So you don't believe that they had the authority to cast out, and you don't believe that they had the intention to cast out the evil spirits. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say burn, and we talked a little bit about that, where you would burn for 2 minutes around the body of the possessed person or demonic person, is that right?
Objection misstates what the witness said.
Okay.
That's sustained.
Okay. Tell me what you would do. Tell me what burn, number 5 burn means.
I believe the way that I explained it was that we would burn around the body so that not another demon wouldn't be able to come into the same body.
Okay. And tell me how that happened.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's been asked and answered a couple of times.
Well, that's overruled.
Tell me how you would burn around somebody's body or burn somebody's body spiritually, or how in this particular context.
Well, everything was done during a casting would be done spiritually, verbally.
Okay. So how do you verbally burn somebody?
I guess you just verbally describe it.
Verbally describe what?
How you would verbally describe burning the body.
Okay. But it had nothing to do with physical burning.
Correct.
Okay. And then the next one is number 6.
Escorted.
Oh, okay. Escorted and sealed. Tell me a little bit about that.
In this part, Lori and Chad were saying that if we had angels come up and they would escort the evil spirit or the demon that had just been cast out, then he would be escorted out of the body. And then if you look at number 7, then they will be sealed away and not be able to come back and bother anyone else.
I'm sorry, I said that was an and, but that was actually a 7. So the 7th step is to seal. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And how do you seal somebody? How do you seal it?
The same way, verbally. You just say sealed away so that it doesn't come back.
Sealed away from that specific person.
Not from just this specific person, but from coming back to bother anyone else.
So he can't come back to the earth.
Correct.
Okay. And then under that it says dispel. Is that right?
Yes.
And then what does it say next to dispel? It's not you. I'm a terrible reader. What does that say?
Banish.
Banish. Okay. So you banish the person, Or the spirit, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's just done verbally. You just say you're banished?
Correct.
Okay. And then expel, reject, eject, purge. And then what's the last one after purge?
Evict.
Evict. Okay. And those are just all things that are kind of under dispel and banish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like synonyms.
And then it looks like there is a figure. There's some sort of a little drawing on the side of dispel and all the way down to purge. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. And then under that, it says, after evict, it says cast out, get rid of them, right?
Correct.
That's the goal, or what is that?
Yeah, that would have been the goal, to get rid of them.
And then what does it say under that, get rid of them?
Forced to leave by official action, take away the right of being there, drive out, as in excommunicated and blasted. Then after that it says Matthew 8:16.
And what is Matthew 8:16?
It's a scripture.
It's a scripture in the Bible or in the Book of Mormon?
In the Bible, in the New Testament.
Okay. And I'm sorry, can I ask what that scripture says? Do you recall, or do you know?
Part of it says cast out with his word.
Okay. And then what else after cast out with his word?
Matthew 10:1.
Okay. And what does it say in Matthew 10:1? Do you recall?
He gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them.
Okay. And so the things that you were doing, you were writing these things down as you were being taught or as you were congregating with this core group of people, right, that were doing these casting out of demons?
Correct.
And that was biblically based or based on scripture?
I think that it was some scripture mixed with their own philosophies.
Okay. Tell me a little about their philosophies. When you in this particular context of casting out demons, tell me what their philosophies were.
Well, if you read in the New Testament, there will be Jesus telling his spirit to leave, but there was never any burning or ejecting or dispelling or being or having to be escorted or sealed. So there was a small part that was scriptural, and then the other part was their own philosophies.
Gotcha. But during this entire time, when you were doing these casting out of evil and demonic beings, you never did this physically. It was all done with prayer and spiritually, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'll give the bailiff or marshal the 54 again. Judge, I don't know if you want me just to go until 3:30 and cut me off, or I'd rather not go into another line, but...
If you are about to go into another line, I'd suggest maybe we end for the day.
I would ask the court if we could do that.
Okay, I presume you still got a pretty substantial amount of cross to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's go ahead and conclude the cross-examination for the day. What we'll do is dismiss the jurors here momentarily, and I'll have counsel stick around for a minute to discuss some scheduling and other matters we want to take up outside of the presence of the jury. So, first, a reminder, we are not holding court Monday. What is that, the 18th? 17th? So the 17th Monday, we're not having court. We'll resume again Tuesday morning, the 18th, at 8:30, and resume our regular schedule for the remainder of the week next week. Before we conclude for the day, as I've kept telling you I will do each time we go, in particular on a 3-day break here. I'd ask everyone to please continue to follow the instructions. I know you have followed thus far. Very much appreciate your service and you continuing to not discuss the case with each other, with anyone else. Don't go doing any investigation. Don't look things up. Don't go into any media coverage of this case or any kind of investigation into the case over the weekend. We'll be expecting you to fill out those juror affirmations when you return on Tuesday. And with that, we'll conclude for the week, and we'll see you back here Tuesday.
All right, please.
All right, please be seated. Just a couple of quick planning items before we break for the day, Council. We do have this time frame at the end of each day at 3:30 when we're excusing the jurors, and that would be a effective and efficient time. If we have any standing objections, for example, you think are coming up, talking about witness orders, planning, that kind of thing, I'd suggest we start using that time briefly at the end of each day to just minimize the delays that we have with the jurors, so we're not taking up sidebars while the jurors are waiting. And I think we've done pretty well so far, but I think it could run a little more efficiently from that standpoint, so that'll be my request going forward. And I think that's about all I had to bring up today. We also did have an issue that Mr. Thomas had raised previously regarding the state's exhibit list. Was there something you wanted to mention further on the issue of the exhibit list, Mr. Thomas?
Well, Judge, I think we talked about getting an exhibit list, and what we're getting is an exhibit list for the day or for the next 2 days or whatever. We'd like an exhibit list that was supposed to be turned over to the court, and the court said that it had some issues with some of the things in there. So I don't know.
Your Honor, I spoke to defense counsel Wednesday and explained that we reordered because of next week. We reordered and moved something that was going to be a couple of weeks down and moved it up to accommodate other issues next week. And so that changed all my exhibit numbers. And I told them, I think it was Wednesday, that I would try to get it this afternoon or tomorrow morning because I don't want the jurors to skip from what would have been exhibit 70 to bringing in 100. So I told them I'd get them a renumbered list, given that we had to make some witness changes because we changed things for next week. And I told them that on Wednesday, and I asked if there was any concern. So absolutely, they're entitled to the exhibit list. We will absolutely get it. I just didn't want to give them one with the numbers wrong.
Okay. Well, the timing is probably more important than the order of numbering, quite frankly, because there's a jury instruction that explains to not be worried about any gaps or not non-sequential numbering, which the jurors can have with them. So I would ask that where we're having an extra day now to Tuesday, if you'd please get that provided by Monday to defense, and if there's an updated exhibit list, please provide that to the court as well.
Yes, sir.
And in terms of exhibits, the court will continue to expect courtesy bench copies of any documents that are being provided, and I appreciate you providing those up to this point.
Yeah, and on that, Judge, it's not my common practice to take evidence and copy it, so I apologize. I haven't been in front of you before, so I will absolutely make sure that's done from here on out in terms of those. And I'd had this conversation with defense counsel. They'll have their exhibit list, and I will email it to the clerk.
Okay, it's just one of those details that makes things a little more efficient, where the exhibit can go straight to the witness instead of to me, then the witness. In particular, if it's a longer exhibit, I really have to take some time to look over. So We'll ask the state to follow up with that amended exhibit list, and then I think we're ready now to break for the day. Before we do that, anything further from the state today?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further from the defense?
No, thank you.
Okay. One last thing, I guess. We do have a witness on the stand. I'll intend to remember to ask the witness again if she's gone through and reviewed any of the other trial testimony. So while in between now and when you continue your testimony Tuesday, you're not permitted to review any other testimony that's already occurred in this trial. So please keep that in mind. And we'll resume again Tuesday morning. So we'll be in recess for the week. Thank you.
All rise.